Clap on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Did I do better that time, guys?
You did do better. I'm proud of you.
I love restarting the EP when you're 2 minutes in.
Just got to shake the rust off.
Yeah. I'm absolutely befuddled right now, guys. Inside joke.
Inside joke.
How are y'all doing?
You're doing good, bro. How are you doing?
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to our listeners, bro. I'm not talking to you.
You don't want to ask how I'm doing, though?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I really don't. Nah, I appreciate y'all who tapping in. Y'all real ones for real. But anyways, you good? Can I go straight?
You been going.
Welcome to the I Found a Friend podcast, where we, your friend, help you navigate life journeys. It's your host, Eric Diggs.
Jordan Diggs.
John Diggs.
All right, let's get right to it.
All right, guys. So this episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of community. So who wants to get us?
Before I get started, I just want to read 3 quick points that I recently saw that really got my mind churning. Oh, did you want to say something?
Nah, it was the way that Jordan was trying to get started and you cut him off to get started.
No, because he said, who wants to get started?
You cut him off like he didn't even get it off. Anyways, go ahead, bro.
He said, who wants to get started? So I just jumped the gun. My fault, gang. No, there's 3 studies. So a study by the University of California in San Francisco found that people who had strong social ties were less likely to die from all causes, including heart disease, stroke, cancer, and respiratory disease.
That's actually crazy.
Another
All causes?
Yeah, I'm going to read 3 real quick. So 2 more. Another study, this one by Brigham Young University, found that people who felt a sense of belonging to the community were more likely to be happy and healthy. They were also less likely to experience depression and anxiety. And then a study by the University of Chicago found that children who grew up in supportive communities were more likely to succeed in school and in life. And they were also less likely to engage in risky behavior such as substance abuse and crime. So how important do you guys think community is?
Well, brother. From those facts, that's actually really insane that, like, just being surrounded by community and having friends increases life longevity, improves mental health, and, prevents diseases. Like, I knew friends were important, but I didn't know how important or necessary they are in our lives.
I would love to see if there's a psychological reason as to why that is, especially when you consider the health benefits from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does being around people cause you to live a healthier lifestyle in the end? Or, like, I guess that just goes to show, like, the chemical balance that we get, like, you know what I'm saying, the chemical boosters that we get from being around friends, from getting dopamine, and, you know what I'm saying, like, that love aspect really does do wonders for you.
For sure. And it's crazy if you think about, like, your most prominent memories. It's usually memories when you're surrounded by people.
Facts.
Especially, like, when you start to get around, like, a certain person who has been in your life and is close with you, you can just, like, sit down with that person and just remember shared experiences that you guys went through together. I think that's, like, a pretty cool thing.
Also, like you said, I think about some of our funnest memories has been with our boys, like when we travel together. It doesn't matter where we go. It could have been just 30 minutes away, but like the memories we made together, they last. And every time we get together, we always talk about like we need to do another trip. We need to get back out with each other and just do something to create more memories. But it is interesting that being in community improves longevity of life, improves mental health, can cause you to succeed more in life, especially in a world, I feel like, in society where everybody's pushing the lone wolf narrative. I can do it all by myself. I got here on my own. I don't need nobody. So what do you guys think about that compared to what the studies just showed?
I'm 50-50 on that because I don't think being alone is necessarily bad, especially if the company that you were to surround yourself with is not the right type of people. So you're like separating yourself from them because of that reason. And then I think sometimes you do need to be alone to kind of lock in and focus on certain aspects in your life. But also, I think life is about moderation. Like, you can't just always be the lone wolf. I can do it by myself, because you eventually reach a point in life where you can't just do everything by yourself. And I think that's like kind of where I myself can struggle is like I don't like asking for help, honestly. And that's not necessarily a good thing because like you can accomplish so much more when you're in collaboration, when you're in connection with people than you can accomplish when you're alone.
I was talking to a mentor of mine, and he was just saying that a lot of people don't value community or friendship because they don't understand what they're missing. It's one of those things where if you don't experience how good it is or you don't experience it at all, then you don't really understand what you're missing. And I feel like a lot of people have not genuinely connected with people, you know what I'm saying? Where they feel like, oh, this is what I'm missing. Like, even if I don't feel like I have like a best friend that I'm locked in with, I've always grown up with y'all. So like we could go through life together, we experience things together. Even if we went through something bad together, we're joking about that the next week. Like, yo, I can't believe how bad that was. That was created memories. So like a lot of people just don't understand the value in having community because they never had a community.
Yeah, I kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit and just talk about like friendship levels because I feel like that's a huge thing. Like, what constitutes someone being your best friend versus someone just being like a acquaintance versus someone just being like a family friend? You know, like what are the friendship levels out there in terms of your life?
Eric?
I'll say if you're my best friend, that usually is earned through shared experiences. Certain experiences give you a deeper connection, and that could only happen when you go through stuff together, come out on the other side. And throughout that shared experience, you open up a lot more to this person. You guys understand each other a lot more because you understand how this person reacts in different situations. If you're just an acquaintance, you're probably a friend by association of the things that we do, probably do similar activities in the similar circles, but we're never going on that deeper level to get to know each other beyond the surface for real. And then if you're just a family friend, and I guess you're just a friend in the family, and I see you at the family reunions, and I'll talk to you if we're around, but outside of that, that's not in the intentional communication that happens outside of us meeting up.
Will they see you at the family reunion gang?
They're saying that because I ditched the last family reunion.
But he had other things that he had scheduled beforehand. So, but anyways, for me personally, I think like a deep level of understanding is what it takes in terms of understanding each other as people. My brothers obviously know me better than anybody else, but like anybody that I would consider like a best friend. Though I don't like using that terminology. I feel like it gets possessive and people start acting real weird. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it can get into some weird territory.
I thought I was your best friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, bro.
I don't like using that terminology unless someone really is truly my best friend and there's no other way to describe them. But like I don't just give that title out to anyone because like I just feel like people would just be saying, "Oh, you my best friend now." Like we met each other one time and now we best friends. Like that's not what a best friend is.
We ain't been through nothing together.
Yeah, and I feel like for me in terms of like friendship levels, like I feel like I can't be your best friend until I know I can trust you because like trust is not freely. Wait, what is it? What's the saying?
They say
Love is freely given, trust is earned.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's what we say. Like we'll love you, but like I can't trust you, and that just comes with like, do you really have my back at the end of the day, or are you like just like self motivating? You know, just trying to get ahead and like using. You know, like there's like a lot of stuff that comes in terms of trust because. Like Eric, John, and I, we all have stuff going on in our lives, and like some people see that and they just want to like attach themselves. We were having this conversation the other day, John, just like about people just wanting to attach themselves to, I guess, a certain group of people just because of what they see, not necessarily because of who they are. So I think just like navigating those relationships can be very interesting as well.
I think another thing too, when it comes to like being my best friend, is that the relationship, we have to go through something. That relationship has to be tested, and we have to withstand the fire. If everything is all lovey-dovey, if we always agree all the time, then the relationship's not real until we do have that disagreement or that argument, and we're able to reconcile and move forward. So I think that's very important in terms of building a strong relationship, is being able to resolve conflict. The absence of conflict doesn't mean that you have a healthy relationship.
I mean, I think that can be subjective. Like, if you ask Jordan, Jordan will tell you that him and his friend that he's really close to, they've never had an argument. And they're able to discuss things that are not necessarily positive or something that they each other want to hear. But it's not devolved into an argument. It's not seen as, like, conflict. But to that, I say, like, I do think that a lot of people, they say, oh, I have friends and they're never there for me whenever I'm down. They don't understand what I'm going through and there's nobody there to listen. And then I would just challenge you and ask you, how are you basing your friends? Like, what's the standard you're basing your friendships on? Because if you're going out with people that you see consistently and you're having a good time with them, then that's it. Then can you really call them your friend? Like, you guys only hit each other up to party, and now you're over here depressed and you're wondering why the same people that hit you up to party are not checking in on you when you're sad.
Something that really helped me out in terms of this topic right here is I read an article and it's talking about you have to have different friends in your life who are meant for different purposes, right? So like if you are at work, you have your coworker friends, but they're not necessarily your friends that you're doing life with. And then you might have like a friend that is just for fun. Like you always do exciting things together. You go out, you travel together, you know? And then you might have a best friend who's there for you, who listens to you. But like expecting everybody to be your best friend is unrealistic. And I think that really helped me out because like sometimes I'm like, oh, some of my friendships that are like really shallow. I don't know if I want to be around these people if it's not like this deep connection, but it's like, that's not what everybody's meant for. And that's something like a hard truth that I had to learn too is like in life, you're probably only going to have a few true best friends. If you have like 50 best friends, then not all 50 of them are your best friend.
It's just, even from a time constraint perspective, it's physically impossible to know everybody to the same level. Like, choosing who you really invest your time in is important because you really do want to make sure that you're investing your time in somebody who sees you the same way. A big question for me is, am I the main character in somebody else's movie or am I a background character? And there's been plenty of people in my life where I would have made them front and center in the cast and I'm a background character. And it's like, okay, I want them to be my friend, and as much as I love them, they're not treating me the same way. Yeah. So is this somebody that I could really consider part of my community when they don't consider me part of theirs?
That's huge. I feel like that's an interesting conversation. Like, do they see you the way you see them, and do you see them the way they see you? Because some people swear that like you're the main character in their life, and you're like, I don't even really mess with them like that, you know. Like I just text them when I have free time, but like they're not like my best friend. So I think that's just like an interesting thing to navigate in life in general.
And that just comes part of the territory too, because we're all like heavily influenced in social media, but I'm more social in that aspect, and so
sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I meet a lot of people. And so while I'm genuine in my relationships and I'm genuine in the conversations that I have, it doesn't necessarily mean I connected or bonded on the level that they think we do, which is why a lot of people do think that, like, we're super tight. And I'm like, you don't know me, though, for real.
Yeah. So what are, like, the qualifications, I guess, to be close to you? Like, what do you, like, look for, I guess, in a friend? Or, like, how do you know, like, when someone, you're like, okay, we're going to be cool?
Probably the vibe.
You too, Eric. Like, what is your stance on this?
If we have a similar perspective on things, that's always like a bonding point, but like a vibe. We don't have to be completely alike for us to get along, but it's like, are you funny? Are you thought-provoking? Relationship with God is obviously a strong bonding point, but you know, things that I have a common interest in, the things I like discussing. Like, I can't stand a shallow person. Like, if I ask you an in-depth question, you hit me with some, I don't know, that's kind of hard. Like, feel me? Like, you didn't even try.
Yeah. And
I'm just like a very in-depth person. So if you don't have substance, then we're not gonna get along for real.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, my best friends, my close friends, we having deep conversations about life, about our relationship with God, about finances, about building community, about building platforms together, about challenging each other, and doing life together and sharing experiences. So, you know, you want to be close. Like, it takes time for me to even open up to people in general. I tend to be quiet and reserved until you get to know me. So, you know, if you're around enough to allow the relationship to organically form, then yeah, you can end up becoming a person that, you know, through shared experiences, we just end up clicking and bonding and open up, and then having those deeper level conversations that develop a deeper friendship or relationship. So,
yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. And like for me, I say we have to have a similar world point of view. I was taking a class, I think it was like a psychology class, and we were just talking about like how you view your world is like how you act I guess, and like to further explain this, like some people see the world as inherently good, like everyone's good, and then there's other people who see the world as bad. So like that affects like your actions. So there are different world point of views, and I would say like the people I connect with most are people who kind of agree with me on some universal truths in my life. Like for instance, I believe that like you can accomplish anything in life if you work for it. You know, you can't just like sit around and be lazy and expect to accomplish that. But like there's some people who believe that like no matter how hard you try in life, it doesn't mean you're gonna improve your situation. And like I feel like if someone's more has a more pessimistic point of view, I feel like I'm not able to relate or connect with them as much because I'm more of a optimist myself.
Yeah.
I like somebody who's able to challenge my perspective and make me think, though. So, like, from the flip side of that, not necessarily your specific example, but, like, if they're able to actually bring up valid points, I'm like, okay, I never thought of that. I never considered that. Like, Jordan, he makes me rethink things more than anybody else, probably. Only because, like, we're twins, but we think very differently. But he communicates well in a way where I'm like, okay, let me change my perspective, so.
But that's a good point right there. You like people that challenge your perspective. But when it comes to being in community, when it comes to forming a community, a lot of people don't like being challenged. Mm-hmm. They don't like the conflict. And all conflict doesn't have to be like this big old argument. But sometimes like somebody just saying, I don't agree with your point of view. Can you like, and they challenge you. And now you feel, you take that personal, take that challenge personal. Mm. And because of that, you isolate yourself from community because you feel like you're not accepted. You feel like you don't belong or you feel like you're not understood. When in reality, sometimes maybe you didn't fit into that community, and that's okay. But other times it can just be you not being open to being challenged and you listening to a different perspective. Because community brings diversity. It's going to bring different perspectives. It's going to bring people from different backgrounds. Everybody's not going to see the world the way you see it. But that's the beautiful thing about community. But a lot of people can't get over their own perspective, their own self, to open up to that.
So would you say there's a certain level of maturity required for you to be in community, or is that something that could be overlooked as long as they find somebody that's like them?
I would say so for a healthy community, for a community that actually makes you a better person, there has to be a certain level of maturity there. You have to be able to have difficult conversations and be willing to listen to the other person, understand their viewpoint, and still be okay with like, hey, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I can't be around you. And I can listen to you and not agree with what you say and it not be anything deeper than that. But I understand you now. And you understand me. And now, because of us being able to have these deeper conversations, I'm able to see the world a little different. I'm able to take your thought process into consideration before I say something or move a certain way because I didn't see the world that way. Oh, you challenged me in a way that I didn't know I could be challenged. And so now I know that I need to maybe up my game in an area because I saw somebody do something on a higher level. You know, a lot of times when you're in community or when you're in isolation, you're the best in your circle. But when you get in community, you're no longer the best. And so you not being the best a lot of times can challenge you to where you have to elevate your game. And that's what I love about community because I'm around people that make me say, damn, I thought I had it, but I got another level to go. And I would never have known that if I wasn't in community.
Yeah, I love that point of view. And it's like, yeah, that's what community is for. It's like for people to grow together. Like if you're not growing with the people you're around, then like you're not around the right people, right? So like as Eric was saying, like that's people who are willing to challenge you. And I tell all my like closest friends this, I'm like, I appreciate your willingness to tell me the truth even when it hurts because I know that's when you're a real friend. A fake friend is not going to tell you what you need to hear, but a real friend is going to lay it down even if it doesn't feel nice, you know? So that's what I tell my friends. I'm like, if I'm going to be friends with you, then I'm going to tell you the truth, even if it hurts. And it's only because it's out of a place of love and not out of a place of like, you know, I'm trying to criticize you or beat you over the head. And I make sure like that's how I communicate too, that like I'm communicating out of a place of love. I remember one of my friends, she was going through something and she had another friend who was telling her like what she was doing was wrong, but like the way her friend was telling her, it was like very critical and it was very what's that word like when you put someone down?
Condescending.
It was very condescending. And she was like, I like appreciate the advice, but I don't appreciate like how it came at me. So I learned from that, like, if I'm going to communicate with my friend, I'm still going to tell her the truth, but I'm not going to do it in a way that belittles her.
And I think that's important to distinguish. We talked a lot about friendship, but like community in general, we haven't necessarily defined that. I think community is the entire encompassing, like people around you, the entire demographic of people around you. It doesn't necessarily have to be your closest friends, but I think that with community, it has really helped me grow as a person in terms of maturity, in terms of communication, because there's so many different people that I have to network with and speak with. And it's like, okay, I understood that through conversation with somebody that's not necessarily the closest to me, but in community and proximity to me, that I can't just say things the way I say them because it's not necessarily the best way to say them. And to me, like somebody called me, somebody said I'm dramatic, and I'm like, I'm not dramatic because like you hear me how I'm speaking now. I speak like this now. Of course, I get rowdy with the boys or whatever, but I'll just say things so nonchalantly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's actually that's funny because John and I had a conversation about this other day, just like his delivery. I was like, yeah, it could be off-putting to some people because he is just like so blunt. But then I think that's like another conversation to have is like, if you're really close with someone and if you're really friends with someone, you kind of understand their personality and the way that they communicate. And that like really shows like how close you are with some people because like I communicate completely different than John communicates, and John communicates completely different than Eric communicates it. But like we understand each other's way of communicating. So yeah, I think that's like also important in a friendship is just to like really understand like a person and how they are.
I think another thing to understand, especially when it comes to community, is that I have my inner circle and I have my outer circle. I'm not going to communicate the same way to my outer circle as I will to my inner circle. I'm also not going to allow people in my outer circle to speak the same way that I would to people in my inner circle. And I think it's important to have make that distinguishment because you can't talk to everybody the same. You can't expect the same out of everybody. And you also need to know who is that core group because when certain people say certain things and it really challenges you, I need to know that you love me for me to really be able to accept that and to fully not take that personal. You know, a lot of times people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Something I've been hearing a lot recently. And that's so true. So like my inner circle, like through our shared experiences and us being there for each other through our lowest of lows, like I know you care. So you can tell me what it is straight up. And I might not like it in the moment, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it to heart and I'm going to apply it to my life because I know who it's coming from. My outer circle, yeah, that's my acquaintance. So yeah, I'm around you. And yes, we might be close, but again, you're not in the inner circle and that's okay.
I would say too, like that ties back into understanding me, like how I communicate is important. Like you have to understand I don't have negative intentions. But with that being said, I do have a question. So like I feel like we're all in different phases in terms of where we are at and how we feel about the current community that we have. I would like to say, how do you feel when you didn't have community versus when you recognize that you had community and kind of like where you're at now?
So I feel like a lot of growing up for me was like really figuring out like, okay, who is my community? And like going into college, I didn't really feel like graduating high school, I didn't really feel like I was at a place where I had like anyone significant or anyone like I could call my best friends. So going into college, that was like really important for me. And I don't know if I ever told you guys this before, but like having come from a PWI, like my main objective in college was like to surround myself by Black people. Like that was like huge to me. So there's like these group of freshmen, they were like super cool and they were like all like diverse group of like Black and like Latino students. And I was like, yo, they look so cool. I want to be like their friends. And it just so happened like some of them lived in my dorm room. I had classes with others. So like I eventually became close with them, but they weren't necessarily my group of people, honestly. And that made me realize that like not everyone is for you. And just because like they seem like they're the best, you just gotta really find people who like really understand you and get you. So fast forward to junior year, I ended up making like the closest group of friends I ever had made. I lived in like the Spanish dorm and everyone on my floor spoke Spanish and we really did life together. We would like do cooking events and like dance classes and like play games. And that was the first time I ever felt like I really had like a close group of people in my life. So fast forward to I guess now, I don't know, it's kind of weird, like knowing that feeling of what it feels like to have close friends like that. I feel like I'm still in a point of transition where I'm like still finding my people, and like there's been a lot of people who have been coming into our lives in general lately, and I know like those relationships will eventually deepen and develop. But like I feel like right now we're still kind of in the beginning stage, and it has me feeling like a little weird because I'm like I don't really know where I fit in right now, but I know like that all comes with time.
I know another thing for me is that community brings a sense of belonging. Like when I'm in a community where I know like this is my people, like I feel good. Community also brings opportunity. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times like when I didn't have community, I felt like I was gifted, but I didn't have a place where I could use those gifts. But finding community for me personally has brought opportunities for me to be able to use my gifts around people who appreciate, celebrate, and cultivate the gifts that are inside of me. And that's been something very important to me as I've continued to grow as a young man. Personally, right now, where I feel like I'm at in life with the community aspect of things is a transition phase. Like, you know, fresh out of college, you know, working a job, 9 to 5 now, you know, finding a new circle. I was playing sports, not playing anymore. So it's kind of like finding a new circle, you know, finding a new purpose in life, something else to pursue passions and goals with, and also the people I'm going to surround myself to pursue other endeavors in life. And it's important for me to have that group around me because I know that the best of me is brought out around a group of people. There's only so much I can do by myself. Also, I can only stay motivated for a certain amount of time by myself, but with community brings accountability, brings inspiration on a daily basis. It brings people who are always checking up on me and challenging me. And like I said, iron sharpening iron. So I really appreciate that about community for myself personally.
What about you, John?
I think the absence of community kind of helped me grow and find myself as a person, which I do think is the benefit of being alone and isolated. There's a saying, I dislike feeling lonely, but I don't mind being alone. Or they say like, I like being alone, but not feeling lonely.
Yeah.
And I think that has really helped me because I am an ambivert. So I really like being alone, but I don't like feeling lonely. And so being alone and feeling lonely was really hard on me, but it helped me grow and develop and find myself as a person, like I just said. But at the same time, it just ate at me because like I'm inside my own head. I got my own echo chamber. And so a lot of people, they struggle with like negative thoughts and they don't hear people uplifting them. They don't have people pushing them and rooting for them in their corner. And when you're alone, that's really dangerous. That's a really
Not to interrupt you, but you know what I found interesting about you? Like one day I came to you and I was like, yo, you have so many friends, like all these people always commenting on your posts, always like texting your phone, blowing it up. And you're like, yeah, but no, like none of them are like here with me. So it doesn't even feel like, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so just to progress and transition, like Jordan said, like the community that we have now in terms of like our life group, for example, or our church home, I've been grounded and rooted in there much longer than both of my brothers because they were away at college. So I've kind of more, like I'm kind of implanted more there, but it's not necessarily always the closest people. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got my dogs for sure. I'm not finna give shout outs.
Yeah, what does you gotta shout them out?
Shout me out, bro.
But I got my people I rock with for sure. I just went to Chick-fil-A with y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. But it's still not necessarily like the people that I would like to be closer to. There's people that live states away and we travel and we visit each other, and that's how we know we're really locked in because we'll go, no matter the distance, we'll make it happen if we can make it happen. And sometimes it's like real tough because I'm like, dang, I miss my guys. Like I wish I was around my guys. Like they get me, they help me like grow, they encourage me, we push each other to do better. And I think that's something that all of us would say, like around the people that we want closest to us, we're all motivating each other to do better and we're all trying to help each other grow and succeed in life. And so, yeah, it's kind of a weird dichotomy of like understanding that like I have a place of belonging, but it's not necessarily the people that I would like really want to lock in with, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that. You said two interesting things. Like one, I think that's like the cool and the negative thing about social media is like the cool thing is you can meet so many people and connect with so many people. Negative thing is like you're not really with those people. And there's only so much you can get out of a long distance friendship so it's just like that's difficult. Also to kind of wrap up this conversation, I just wanted to ask you guys, what is like some advice for people who are looking for community? Because like we're talking about like having friends, having community, but there's some people who are like, I don't even know how to find that. So like, what is you guys' advice?
I'll say first and foremost, start out with what are your interests? What are you interested in? What do you have a true passion for? And then surround yourself or seek out people in that field. That's the easiest way to find a group of like-minded people, is to find people who are already interested in the same things you are. Because we all have these innate desires and these innate passions that are deep within us just naturally. And I feel like when you're not living in that area, in your gifting and your calling, that's when you feel disconnected from the world. So that's the first place I would start. Also, be willing to open yourself up to try new things, to be around new people, to be receptive. Like, you have to prepare your heart. You have to prepare your mind for that. It can be difficult, especially for me. I can tend to be more introverted sometimes. So it can be difficult for me to go in a new space and be open to start and initiate new conversations, or to be receptive to new conversations. And thirdly, I would say just continue to also be easier on yourself and to speak positively, because a lot of times when you think negatively about yourself, you portray that on the world, and you think that the world sees you like that, when that's just an internal reflection of yourself. So change the internal dialogue, change the internal reflection, so that way you'll be more receptive to the world. Because if you think great about yourself, then you're going to believe the world thinks great about you as well, which is going to lead to you wanting to be a part of community.
Leave your house. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you expect to meet people in the real world. Like, yes, you could through social media, but that's obviously not the safest. So leave your house. Eric and Jordan will tell y'all, like, being alone taught me how to enjoy things on my own. So they'll know, if I want to go watch a movie, I'm going to go watch a movie, regardless of who comes with me or not. I'm going to go by myself if I want to. I'll go out to eat by myself if I want to. And so, like, going out to do things that you enjoy, regardless of if you have a friend group or not, can really help you get out of your shell and get out your comfort zone. And you'll run into more people. You know what I'm saying? If you like going to the gym, you'll see the same people if you go at the same time. If you like going roller skating, if you like going bowling, whatever hobby or activity that you like to do that requires you to leave your house, I encourage you to do it, because chances are you'll run into other people doing the same thing and having the common point of interest, like Eric said.
Yeah, the last thing I want to leave you guys with is, I was reading an article about friendships, and it said that friendships are not coincidental, they're intentional. So but what the article was saying is, like, a lot of people think, oh, like, friends are just going to come into my life and it's just going to, like, just happen one day when it's meant to happen. But it was like, no, you need to be so intentional about putting yourself in places to meet people, stepping out and reaching out. Like, if you think about any of your friendships, like, someone had to do the reaching out, someone had to make the first move. So it was saying, if you want more friends, be that person who's very intentional, going up to strangers, saying hi, saying, I like your shirt, where'd you get it from? Like, if you're that type of person who takes on the world with not waiting for things to happen, but going after it, then that can completely change.
Hold on. Quick story time, because people think that we lying about this. Myles Garrett, I'm going to shout him out. I met Myles Garrett. He's at Mizzou, baseball player right now. I met Myles Garrett in Atlanta on a one-off chance, said, hey, I like your outfit. He's in Atlanta for a passion event 2 years ago with me and my boys, and I just liked his outfit. Turns out he goes to school at Vanderbilt. We meet in Nashville, and years later, from me giving him that one compliment, me and him were cool.
That's crazy.
Like,
yeah.
And who would have thought? You never know.
Yeah.
You really never know. But that being said, y'all, this is the I Have Found a Fan podcast. If you have been looking for a friend, you found one.
You definitely said, I found a fam.
I said friend. I stuttered.
He definitely said friend.
But
y'all got the gist of it, though. But I hope y'all really enjoyed this episode, and go look for your community.
Sheesh.